So tonight we're going to talk about just being you, how you just need to be you. And I'll talk a bit about that kind of the arc of life that we go through. I've mentioned in a newsletter before about Act 1 and Act 2. I can't remember if I talked about it on last week's call, but I'll just sort of talk about it in the context of this topic. And I guess the thing that might come out through this is just the noticing of the difference between a very self-driven idea of I can just be whoever the hell I like, versus well, that phrase revealed love that I used in the newsletter, that selfless experience of I'm okay just as I am. There's such a different energy between those two, because of course the first is all about self. I'm important, I get to do stuff the way I want and I don't care about anybody else, versus the other, which is like, yeah, I'm so confident and so okay in myself, and but there was no need to kind of impose that on the other, no need for it to be about me. It's just, yeah, there's an impersonal okayness with who I am, with just being me. Hey Frank.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hi Frank.
Hi Frank.
Camera.
There you are, got your real face now. So so as I was thinking about it for tonight, I just want to talk through that arc from Act 1 of life, where we begin to, well, first of all, we develop the idea of self. We are taught the idea of being a separate me, and how then through that Act 1 of life, we gather the stories and we gather the conditioning that increasingly cements that idea and increasingly amplifies that feeling of insecurity, that I'm not okay as I am. There's things about me that aren't acceptable, that upset people or make them angry, and then we start work and then we start getting feedback, so some more evidence to show that, oh no, I'm really not okay, look at all these things I need to fix and improve and change about myself. All of which, so all those things we collect in that Act 1 are all perfect for our own version of the story. So we all come in ready to collect the storyline that's just ours. So for me, mine was very much about that. Be the best, be right, don't look stupid, don't get it wrong. And so all the evidence I collected in Act 1 was all about that. I've got to work hard, I've got to do it brilliantly, I've got to, setting crazy high standards and then trying to reach them, and lots of self-criticism and criticism of others, because that's what comes alongside that storyline. And so also in Act 1 then we tend to bring in strategies. So that thing of applied love, we apply strategies and apply tactics and approaches to try and fix what's supposedly broken. Oh, I'm so awful, I've got all these unacceptable bits, let's cover them over and paper over the unacceptable bits, let's paper over the bits that aren't loved and try and hide them and mask them and disguise them. So we were walking around with this false smile on our faces, going, I'm okay, really, I'm okay. While inside there's this like dissonance of, God, but it doesn't feel okay. And not necessarily consciously, like for sure, I wouldn't have had that conscious thought at that time of that conflict. It just looked like what you did. It looked like, oh no, this is what we do. You manage your thinking and you control your behavior and you act in this way and not that way because this is okay and that's not. It just looked like the obvious thing to do. It just made sense. And then the switch in our life comes, that turning point of midlife, where we start to transition into Act 2. And that's the point where we start to have the alarm bells to tell us something's not working. The wake-up call to say, yeah, there's something wrong with this picture. So whether it's the supposed feedback from the world getting louder and louder, the more of these difficult people or more people telling me I'm awful, or whatever the thing is we're trying to avoid seems to come up more and more. Or maybe our behaviour supposedly gets worse than ever. So whatever we've been trying to not behave like maybe starts coming out more than before. Or the the thinking perhaps that we've been trying to manage or replace with better thinking, but it's, I don't know, but that thinking's still there, and it's still not, and it's still causing the same bad behavior. So whatever it is, it's like it's almost like a bucket that's got so full it's bursting over, it's like leaking, and there's holes and water's pouring out the edges, and it can't be contained anymore. The effort, really, I guess it's at the level of the sandbank, the effort of sandbank trying to keep the river from flowing, it's like the banks are starting to burst. It's not sustainable. And it's so cool, because then we shift into Act 2, and not for everybody. So for some people, they won't find this kind of conversation, and that's fine. That's the experience they're in. But for those of us that do, it becomes the opportunity for life to be that undoing. So I'm thinking back to your poem, Frank, about the prods from life, those gifts, and so then we can recognize that we're not the thoughts or the feelings or the behavior that we've been trying to control or mask or hide, that there's something else going on behind all that. There's something that's me, that's prior to all of that, that's never come and gone, that's just always been there ever since we can remember. And then we start to disidentify from that sandbank. We start to create that space. And in that creation of space, and in the recognition that the world is here to undo the conditioning and unravel that conditioning, then it seems to just become almost like a self-fulfilling, not self-fulfilling, use the opposite. It becomes that like upward expansive spiral, rather than the downward contraction as we go further into sandbank, further into story, further into content. It becomes that expansive and increasing freedom, increasing peace of mind, increasing love and happiness. And that's that revealed love then. That's what was always there at the top of the river. And now, in the absence of sandbank, or the disidentification with sandbank, that revealed love just shows up in the world. And that's when we have that settled okayness of, I can just be me.